What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. Thank you so much for being here. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, is a parole story time. And I'm gonna kind of go over the differences from New York State parole versus Arkansas State parole because, oh my God, crazy. The differences were night and day. If you're new here, my name is Jess. I'm a recovering addict who served time in prison. I will leave more stories about me in the description box down below. But today's video is specifically going to be a parole story time, and I was reminded of this story when I went home last week to visit my family and try to get somebody into treatment. I will leave that video on the card up here. I kind of just walk around and share different memories that I have from my past, because going to my hometown brings a lot of that up, you know. It definitely reminds me of who I used to be and where I came from and all of that. So if you haven't seen that video, definitely go check it out. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started today. Now, let me first describe New York State parole. Now, I was on some form of supervision through the state of New York from 13 to 21. Is that right? And then I was on Arkansas State parole until I was 28. So I've been on some form of supervision from 13 to 28. That's a huge chunk of my life. And I really thought that that was a normal thing because almost every single person in my circle was on parole. So I thought it was like a normal thing to have to report to your PO and take drug screens, and I just thought everything about my life was normal. It wasn't. But while I was in the mix of that, while I was struggling with substance abuse disorder, while I was going through all of those things that I was going through and using and dealing, I just thought it was normal. I knew that I was going to eventually be locked up because I was a dealer. I didn't know how much I would struggle in my addiction. I didn't know how dark it would get. I didn't know that I could find my way out of that. So, you know, looking back now, it's like, whoa, you did all of that? Like, it kind of seems like a bad dream now because I have so much time and distance from my past. But oh, and I just want to throw in here, I get asked on a daily basis why I still say I'm a recovering addict. My substance abuse disorder is in remission, and we hope for it to be in remission forever. But I'm a human being. I will always be upfront and honest about my struggles with you guys, and I hope to be in remission for the rest of my life. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's why I say that I'm recovering addict, because it's a lifelong battle, you know, and the battle is so much easier now than it used to be, but I have to take care of my social, emotional, physical, mental health, and doing that is a lifelong process for me. You understand what I'm trying to say? So, okay, moving on to the story. I feel as though my hometown gets worse and worse every single time that I go back. I go back once a year to visit my family, and I always have a lot of love and support around me at all times, whether I'm here in Chicago or whether I'm in New York visiting. I never do things alone, so when I was filming my second hometown tour video, I was not by myself. I was with my friend Jen. But yeah, it's difficult to go back. So anyway, I was out back of a little spot that I used to stay at. My ex-boyfriend used to live there, and it reminded me of this time where parole knocked on the door at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I had this way of escaping my boyfriend's apartment. I would go out the window, up onto the roof, climb over on another roof, and go into a different apartment building and walk down the stairs. That way I wasn't leaving his apartment building, and I kind of ran from parole that way so that they didn't know that I was there. Now, the terms and conditions of New York State parole said that I could not, I think they changed it actually, but at the time I could not associate with known felons or people on New York State supervision, right? So now they changed it to, you can no longer associate with people that are knowingly engaged in illegal activity. So not just felons, anybody that is breaking the law at all. So I was not supposed to be in this relationship. I was not supposed to be around my ex, who was on supervision as well. And we knew that. So we had a way out of almost every situation. And that was just one of the ways that we had out of it. So 3 o'clock in the morning, we hear, it's loud. Parole officers, police officers, they're loud when they knock on the door, and it makes you jump out of your sleep. And living like that for so long, it just doesn't go away. I'm a very light sleeper because you never know when they're gonna knock on the door, and it's very difficult. All of my friends that are currently on supervision or have been on supervision have that same jumpiness about them. You know, prison attributes to that, being on parole attributes to that, being in the lifestyle attributes to that. So I'm very like, if you run up on me, I am very like PTSD flashbacks because I've been jumped. If someone's banging on the door, I'm startled. If dogs are barking in the middle of the night, I'm startled because that's a big sign that police are there or parole is there or whatever. So I'm very jumpy as it is. It's just, I have PTSD and it is what it is, you know? So 3 o'clock, we hear the pounding on the door, and they don't say parole, they just pound on the door. My boyfriend and I jump out of our sleep, and I'm thinking like, I have to go on the roof. Like, I have to get out of here because I'm on paper too, right? So I look out. You guys, it's January in New York. It is freezing. There's snow, there's ice, and I'm like really afraid that if I jump out on the roof, I'm afraid that I'm gonna slip off the roof and freaking break my leg because there's snow and there's ice everywhere. They pound on the door again, and we have to make a split-second decision to just not risk it and jump out on the roof. He opens the door, I get up, and I'm sitting at this little table he had. It was just a studio apartment, so I'm sitting at this little table shaking. I'm so nervous, I'm so scared because I feel as though they're gonna know. Now his PO and my PO are different. So we kind of just played Russian roulette here that maybe my PO is not outside and maybe they don't recognize me. Now at this time, I had about 3 different POs at that time, and he had like all of them. So I'm sitting there and I look really quick, there's 4 parole officers. I don't see mine. So I'm like, okay, it's gonna be okay. Now, they come in, they immediately ask for my name and ask if anyone else is there. That's kind of a standard thing. Is anyone in the house? Is anyone else here? So they wanna know who is there. We said, no, we're the only ones here. And it was very obvious because it's a studio apartment. Like, where are they gonna hide? It was a shared bathroom apartment too, so there's no bathroom in this. So it was like less than a studio apartment. It was basically just a room. And so it was very easy to tell, like, no, there's no one else here. So we're like, no, it's just us. Well, my ex's PO said, we're gonna search the place. And I'm just like, oh my God. Now I'm even more nervous because they are going to search, and I had literally just given my ex a pound of weed. Literally just gave it to him because he couldn't find work, couldn't find a job. You know, he was struggling. No one would hire him. And I'm not justifying it, I'm just trying to explain the situation. So I had just given him a pound of bud. Now, New York State still to this day in 2020 is not rec, they're medical only. They have decriminalized weed, but at the time where I'm telling you the story, I was 19 years old or 18 years old. It is illegal, and that is a charge, and that could, you know, potentially put us both back in jail for weed, especially on New York State supervision. So I had just given him a pound of bud, and I look over at him and I'm like telepathically trying to say, where is it? Where is it? And he does this, he goes and looks up, and I'm like, he put it in the ceiling. So we had these drop tile ceilings. I'll try to insert a picture of what I'm talking about, but you could very easily hide things in the ceiling. So they're searching around, and then one of the POs says, what's your name? How old are you? You know, and I said, my name is Janet, a friend of mine. I knew her name, obviously I knew her name, but her name, her date of birth, and her social, and I gave them all of that information. And she's 5'5", brown hair, brown eyes. I fit the description, right? So I had memorized her information, and back then it was a little bit easier to get away with that than it is now because, you know. So anyway, I gave them that information, you know. I think I looked underage because I've always just looked young. So I think they were asking me, but if I had said my name is Jessica Kent, I know that they probably, I don't know. I was so afraid to say that my name was Jessica Kent because I was also on New York State supervision. Like, you know what I mean? So I gave them my friend's name, and one of the POs, I have seen him before. So he kind of just looks at me like, I recognize her, but I'm not gonna push it. Thank God, because they're not there for me. They're there for him. So they're searching around the apartment. They don't find anything. And then it happens. One of the POs takes a nightstick out. I don't even know why they had nightsticks, but he takes it out and he starts touching the ceiling tiles. I swear to you, you could hear my heartbeat. It was just, and I'm just like, they're about to find a pound of freaking weed in the ceiling. Like, so now I am shaking. I'm so scared. I'm shaking. And one of the POs says, you look really nervous. No shit, bro. About to go to jail today. So I said, no, I'm just cold because it's January, whatever. And I'm just cold. I'm just about to be arrested again, right? So I'm nervous. They're touching all the tiles and they get to where it is. They touch the tile and push it up. And then they go over to a different one next to it and push it up. And they go back to the one where it's at and they touch it again. And I'm like, huh. They know, it's there, they know, we're going to jail. Why did I let him keep it here? So now I'm blaming myself. I'm so freaking mad that I let him keep it here, because we knew that it was a possibility that parole comes. Parole will go to your house at 2 o'clock in the morning a couple times a month if they're really onto you. It's reduced now. I think it's like every 90 days or something. They come to your house at freaking 2 o'clock in the morning or midnight or whatever. But back then they were coming like every 2 weeks or so. So twice in a month, right? And when they're touching that tile, I'm about to freaking have a heart attack. Like my heart is just pounding so fast. I can hear it. I feel like they can hear it. Like I'm so nervous. So after the second time they go back to the tile where it is, they go to a different one and then a different one. And eventually they stopped doing that and they said, all right, have a good night. I need you to report on Friday. And he's like, okay, yep, have a good night. They close the door and leave. And I just thought to myself, how did we get away with that? So I think it was a broomstick or something. I grabbed a broomstick to touch the tiles to see if the weight had felt different. So I grabbed the broomstick and I touched the tiles and you could absolutely tell there was something there. And I wonder, like, did that PO just let him go? Because you could tell, like, there's a difference in the weight when you're pushing up these tiles. You could definitely tell that there was something there. So I was so scared. So we were eventually able to fall back asleep, but that was just how we lived, you know? It was just like that. It was tense like that. It was scary like that. And those situations would come up all the time. And I thought that was a normal way to live. I thought, just gotta hide it better. Not stop doing what you're doing, you know, work on your recovery. I didn't even have that verbiage in my vocabulary at the time. I didn't know about my depression. I didn't really understand mental health or addiction. I understand how chemically addiction worked, but I didn't understand how to get away from it at that time. I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. And even to this day, I'm still learning and evolving and growing and trying to learn more about addiction and mental health. So I am not a know-it-all. I don't know everything. I'm constantly trying to learn. But yeah, it's just crazy how I thought that was a very normal thing. So I just want to put in here, because I didn't mention it, Arkansas State Parole was the easiest thing that I have ever done in my life. But that coincides with me not doing drugs, not selling, not doing any of that stuff, and going to work and going home. So in Arkansas, I was on unsupervised parole my last year on parole. New York would never do that. They would never allow me to be on unsupervised parole and not have to report. Nope, never gonna happen. I didn't really have a curfew in Arkansas. I never saw a parole officer outside of the parole office in Arkansas. They were always on me in New York, always coming to my house in the middle of the night or middle of the day, whenever they felt like. I was reporting every single week. I think one time I was able to get to every other week, and then I got bumped right back down to once a week. It sucks that New York State Parole is as difficult as they are. They just make it so hard to get your life on track. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult. And we need to rethink how we view parole, how we view prison, how we view re-entry. We really need to be supporting those who are coming out of prison. Recidivism rates are so high. We need to do more to help people. We need job training and job placement coming out of prison. We need to not deny parolees bank accounts, jobs, transferring out of their hometown. That's a big one in New York. They don't want to transfer people out of the county that they're from. It's people, places, and things. And since an overwhelming number of people on parole are struggling with substance abuse disorder, it is very important that we give them the tools that they need. If transferring can save their life, because people, places, and things, then we need to allow them to transfer. We need to allow them to serve the community and help other people. Another friend of mine just got denied a job for a rehab because the supervising parole officer in New York said, it doesn't seem like it would be an appropriate place for you because you're an addict and you're on parole and other parolees go there. That is a life-changing career job, and she was denied for it. We really need to stop placing so many obstacles in people's way. It shouldn't be this difficult to stay out of prison, but unfortunately it is. Once you get caught up once, breaking that cycle and getting out of that lifestyle is very difficult. So if you're currently on supervision and it seems impossible, know that it's not. If I did it, so can you. I know it's hard, but it's temporary. So keep fighting for your freedom, keep fighting for your sobriety. You can do anything. I'm gonna end today's video here. I love you guys. Stay safe, stay sober, whatever that looks like to you. And I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.